As John mentioned, this seminar is going to be, well, about walleyes, because that's what I do. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Chase Parsons, like John said. You're probably thinking, who's this 16-year-old kid that's up in front of you talking about fishing, right? I'm actually 25, so give me a break. I just look young. I have been fishing for a long time. The first time I went fishing, I was like 4 or 5 years old. I mean, really young. Basically, I was a guy that gave my old man 2 more rods in the boat. That's what I was. I've been around walleye fishing and tournament fishing since I've been about 5, so 20 years now. Walleye fishing, you've seen articles by Dad and Keith, I'm sure, a lot of them. They've been around forever, and that's kind of where I grew up. I fished with those guys year in and year out, learned techniques from them, learned seminars from them. When I was 12 years old, I had their seminars memorized. I mean, I just was with them all the time. So I'm going to try to give you a few real good tips on how to catch more walleyes, because that's what everyone wants to do, right? Catch more fish. That's why people come to seminars. That's why you saw John. But he teaches you where and how to catch more fish. So I'm going to focus on strictly walleyes today. There's going to be a few different techniques I talk about, but I'm mainly going to talk about river fishing for walleyes. So I'm going to get into a lot of river fishing. I'll talk about some products, but I'm not going to just say, here's a product that I use, you got to buy it. I'm going to tell you why it's something you should look at. Okay, I'm going to get down into the details of it, and then also tell you how I control the boat. Okay, I'm not going to just say, when you're river fishing, you got to use this rod, you got to use this jig. I'm going to tell you how to control the boat better, because in walleye fishing, probably the toughest boat control is when you have current, right? So overall this seminar, we say, what's hot in the walleye world? Who's heard of the technique slow death? Slow death is a technique for walleyes that we use in place of pulling bottom bouncers and spinners. But I'm going to get into where slow death came from, how to fish it, what speeds, everything. And it's going to be very, very surprising the first time you use this technique, how many fish you're going to catch. It looks terrible. When you put it in the water, you're going to say there's not any way in a million years I'm going to catch a walleye on this. But you will be surprised. So I'll get into slow death a little bit. I'm going to talk about the jig styles I like to use. I'm going to talk about the FinTech knuckleball jigs. Fantastic river jigs. The next thing is I'm going to talk about crankbaits, right? So I'm going to talk about the crankbait I like for casting. Also, it's a fantastic shad style bait all around. Everyone's heard of the shad wrap. It's been a fantastic crankbait for years and years. But the Berkley flicker shad is another bait in that category that is absolutely phenomenal for walleyes. I'll get into that a little bit. I'm going to talk about Berkley Gulp Alive. I had a guy come up to me before I came up and said, do you use live bait or do you use artificials, right? It's one of the biggest questions out there for walleyes. In river situations, I would probably guess 80 to 85% at least, I'm using Gulp Alive now. I don't use a lot of live bait. None of the guys use a lot of live bait anymore. There's times where it does work better, but we're using a lot of these artificials. I'll get into that, and then the last thing on the list was, we call it the ultimate must-add bait hook.